pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Welcome, everyone. Our first item tonight is the approval of the minutes. Anyone have any minutes to remove? Motion to approve the minutes from the May 5th, 2014 work session meeting, the May 5th, 2014 executive session meeting, and the May 19, 2014 executive session meeting minutes.
I'll move that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Our first item tonight is a proclamation honoring the retirement of Richard Dickey White. I'd like to welcome Chief Hoxie to the podium.
Can't read.
Richard Dickey White, and we all know him as Dickey.
Yeah.
Whereas Richard Dickey White is retiring after 40-plus years with the Town of Narragansett Police Department, started under Chief Colvin. Whereas he has faithfully and conscientiously served the Town of Narragansett and its citizens. Whereas he has earned and justly deserves this public recognition for his many years of service to our community. Now, therefore, the Narragansett Town Council commends Richard Dickey White for the many years of service to our community, and we urge our citizens to join with us as we extend our sincere appreciation for his work and wish him well in his retirement. Dick?
Congratulations and thank you, Mr. White, for all your years of service. Our next item is the swearing-in ceremony for the new duly promoted members of the Narragansett Fire Department. Welcome Chief Parting to the podium.
Council President, members of the council, staff, residents, all the guests who are in attendance this evening, including family of those who are going to get promoted this evening, or at least sworn in. On behalf of the Narragansett Fire Department, I'd like to thank you for this opportunity to formally do so, and that is swear in two of our newest officers to the rank of lieutenant. That would be firefighters Brian Lemmy and firefighter Kevin McHenry. The recent retirement of two very experienced and seasoned officers, Lieutenant John Flint and Lieutenant Paul Bowe, who are actually here in attendance this evening, was a blow to the department. And however, it has opened up positions to make two further promotions. Both John and Paul served with distinction and honor, and they have since moved on, and in their place, promotions of Brian and Kevin would take place. First of all, as a lieutenant assigned to both to Rescue 1, both Brian and Kevin will have just about everything you can imagine to do there. They will respond to all kinds of events, fire, EMS, mutual aid calls. They will be responsible for cross-manning Ladder 1 as well as Marine 1 and assisting with the training of daily operations of the fire department. Lieutenants on this department are a tremendous asset. They are relied upon extensively to perform many functions, and given the nature of our resources and the way we do cross-staff our apparatus, they will be responsible for many, many emergencies, including, as I said, fire, EMS, and marine emergencies. they will be held accountable for those multiple pieces of apparatus. Thus, they must possess knowledge and the skill in those many areas, and not only possess that, but also have the desire, the willingness, and the fortitude to be able to pass down that information to all the other members that they serve with, which also include their subordinates. So at this time, I'd like to ask both Brian and Kevin if they could please come forward. We're not only here to swear them in formally, but we're also here to pin a badge on their chest, a badge that really is symbolic of a few things. Firefighting has a rich history, which is reflective in the firefighter badge. The firefighter badges and patches include fire department information, a symbol or statement of that individual's position, such as lieutenant, captain, or chief. The officer of rank insignia of a lieutenant and above uses the bugle, which signifies the importance of a unified command as well as clear communications. It's symbolic of the trumpets and megaphones that were historically used to coordinate firefighting efforts. As lieutenants, Brian and Kevin will both wear a bugle. When we wear them with pride and distinction because they are earned, and both Brian and Kevin have certainly done that and earned those. If firefighter Brian Lemmy could take a step forward. With the retirement, as I said, of Lieutenant John Flint, firefighter Brian Lemmy was promoted to the rank of lieutenant on June 1st, 2014. Professionally, he has served over 10 years with the Narragansett Fire Department, worked in all 3 districts, serving as acting lieutenant numerous times. He started with Narragansett Fire Department in December of 2003, but he was exposed to it likely at an early age, given that his father was a retired battalion chief with the City of Warwick Fire Department, where he served for, I believe, over 29 years. And he's here in attendance this evening as well. Brian's a graduate of Narragansett High School. He's attended Rhode Island College. He has certifications in firefighter levels 1, 2, hazardous materials operations, WMD, and has various NIMS and ICS certifications. He has served on our commendation board, and he is a past recipient himself of a letter of commendation from former Chief Carter for an incident which occurred on July 11th, 2010. That incident involved an 8-year-old boy who fell from a self-made zip line and suffered a potentially severe spinal injury. It was his quick action in recognizing and understanding the mechanism of injury that allowed this boy to be immobilized properly, and likely, according to the treating physician, it was instrumental in averting any permanent paralysis. So it was quick response like this and good situational awareness which Brian displayed and which will be of demand from him as a lieutenant with this department. Brian is somewhat of a personal entrepreneur. I guess you could say a business entrepreneur. He owns his own clothing line business entitled Enemy Skull Incorporated, which was started in 2007. Some of us are very familiar with that. He is also a co-owner in a very popular Mexican grill restaurant, El Fuego's in Wakefield. He has a family background of business. I believe his grandfather, as well as father, was involved in the pizza business. Spaghetti sauce, I'm sorry, spaghetti sauce. Well, you can make pizza. He's a former lifeguard and longtime avid surfer in this area and has traveled extensively surfing throughout the world. His knowledge of the waterways and skill with surf and rescue is a welcome and asset to this department. He especially takes on added responsibility of cross-staffing with the Marine One, which he will do so as a lieutenant. Lieutenant, may I remind you, as a member of this department, it is always your responsibility to conduct yourself on and off duty in a manner that reflects positively on yourself, this department, and the fire service in general. But never is it more essential and as an officer. So if I could have, I believe it's your father, if I could have Chief Lemmy come up and pin the badge on Lieutenant Lemmy. Firefighter Kevin McHenry, please step forward. With the retirement of Lieutenant Paul Bowe, firefighter Kevin McHenry was promoted recently to the rank of lieutenant on June 19th, 2014. Kevin has over 9 years' experience with the Narragansett Fire Department, a majority of which has been assigned to the outlying districts. Welcome to the big house, Kevin. Promotion to lieutenant will place him at headquarters on Rescue 1. It's here again where he'll cross-staff both the ladder and Marine 1 for emergency responses. Kevin started at NFD in April of 2004. Prior to NFD, served as a lifeguard coordinator, supervisor, and beach manager for the Rhode Island DEM. Kevin's interest in medicine and community service led him to pursue his paramedic license, where he graduated class valedictorian in the program and worked for a private ambulance company prior to joining the fire department here. Kevin is currently our only nationally registered paramedic on the department. He is a licensed EMT instructor coordinator with the state of Rhode Island. He is a paramedic advanced life support and advanced cardiac life support instructor, as well as a basic life support instructor. He has certifications in IV anticoagulant therapy, nitroglycerin therapy. So if you're having a heart attack, I guess Kevin is probably one of the people you want to see. Kevin's paramedic ACLS background has been instrumental in assisting the department's EMS training. He is an excellent educator, and his organizational skills and leadership will prove invaluable as he moves forward as an officer in this department. He is NFPA certified in 1521, Incident Safety Officer Fire Suppression, 1021, Fire Officer Level 1, 1041, Fire Instructor, Strategy and Tactics for Initial Company Operations from the National Fire Academy, and is certified as a Municipal Fire Alarm Technician, where he helps out maintaining our fire alarm cables. Currently, he serves on the Executive Board for Local 1589. He's a graduate of Cranston East High School. He has an Associates of Arts in General Studies from the Community College of Rhode Island and a Bachelor's of Science degree in Health Sciences from Lesley University. Kevin, may I conclude by reminding you as well, as a member of this department, it is always your responsibility to conduct yourself on and off duty in a manner that reflects positively on yourself, this department, and the fire service in general. However, never is it more important or essential than as an officer. I believe Kevin is going to have his badge pinned on by his wife and 2 sons, good luck with that, Kevin, who are here tonight and would like to invite them up to pin it. So if we could have Kim and family. Good job. So at this time, if we could have the council president come forward and he will swear you in formally. You can take the oath.
Please raise your right hands. I do solemnly swear to uphold the Constitution of the United States, the general laws of the state of Rhode Island, and the charter and ordinances of the town of Narragansett, and to faithfully serve as a lieutenant on the Narragansett Fire Department to the best of my ability, so help me God. Congratulations.
Again, I'd like to thank you for this opportunity, family, friends, guests as well, and also, without saying too much more, the members of this department. Thank you for your attendance. Good luck to both of you.
And we'll just take a short break just to congratulate the new members of the lieutenant ranks. See you back in about 5 minutes. We have one final announcement. Today is our President Pro Tem, Susan Cicely Bonanno's 29th birthday. So move on to the open forum. Please just state your name and address upon approach. Mr. Alba.
Thank you, thank you. 52 years young.
Al Alba, 24 Eagles Nest Terrace, Narragansett. And happy birthday, Sue.
Thank you.
I'd like to bring up the idea of Iggy's Doughboy stand, how he's looking forward to building a place there, and I never realized how many charities he gives to. So I think it's on our behalf that we vote to approve that Iggy's Doughboy stand. And also, let's see. I'm looking forward to being at that meeting to work along with them. I mean, Dickens is going to oppose it, of course, because he's a landlord of Iggy's Doughboy stand, and it's not right that he be allowed to oppose it. It'd be sort of a confliction of duties. Like I told him, I says, "You're here to back him up." He says, "I'm his landlord." Well, as a landlord, he shouldn't be able to just have anything to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Professor Vengermish.
Happy birthday, Susan, and
Thank you.
we're going to miss you, Glenna. After 8 years of effort and study, I better be like Chief Hoxie and get my reading class, and I would like to submit 10 bullet points for perusal by Narragansett residents. My overall assumption is that both residents and visitors would equally benefit by these points. And one, while it is unlikely Doris Duke will step forward to do for Narragansett what she did for Newport just after World War II, there could be a rallying group to take action. It's been a long time since 1947, but it's not impossible for us to recapture much of what has been temporarily lost, even though we seem to be losing it quickly. Narragansett should be a major center for the study of spiritualism. We have two artifacts, Hazard Castle and Druid's Dream, both built by Joseph Peace Hazard, one of the leaders in the world in spiritualism. They're in private hands. However, we do have his proposed burial spot, which is one of the great sites in the world for spiritualism, and that is right off Gibson Avenue. We should be the center for the study of Native American culture. We have a 13th century village recently acquired by the state and the Narragansett tribe. I'm hoping that within 20 years, this site could be a World Heritage Site. We do have a model for action in Jamestown, Virginia. We should be the center for blue-green walking trails for walkers, hikers, bikers, and even auto excursionists. And these I have all laid out. We should be a center for guided walks with tour leaders. We should double our historical markers within a 3-year period and double them again within 3 years. The River Walk in Providence is a fine example of a successful campaign. We should be the center of studies of hurricanes. Next year is 200 years from the gale of 1815, a very, very well-studied storm, even though it was 200 years ago, and we were wiped out here in Narragansett with all sorts of stories and facts on that. We also suffered the 38 hurricane and Hurricane Carol in 54, Hurricane Bob, Superstorm Sandy. Believe it or not, we have a world-famous oceanography school that might be very helpful in making us a center for that particular item. We should establish all sorts of working relationships, Department of Homeland Security, so we can have guided tours for the Point Judith Lighthouse, the owners of the historic Robinson Farm, which once was open to the public 100 years ago, the Christian Brothers for the Newberry Mansion, the Hazard Castle was mentioned, Druid's Dream. We should reestablish contacts officially with the Point Judith Country Club, the Dunes Club, and the Rhode Island National Guard for the use of Camp Farnham. 200 years ago, we were hooked at the hip to Newport. That is no longer so. And one reason why it isn't is that when we were hooked to the hip with Newport, with ferries, docks, ongoing steamships, we had lots of docks and ferries and steamboat landings. All of them went because they were in the open ocean. If perchance 200 years ago, Galilee is what it is now, because it was nothing until the 1930s. It was never opened during the glory period of Narragansett. We have, contrary to what my friend Al Abbott says, we do have dock space in Narragansett, and it's protected from the ocean with a breachway, and I think we might want to use it. Lastly, we need to find a home for the Historical Society so that we can show the mementos, build some mementos of Narragansett. I believe we could do this.
Thank you, Professor. Mr. Wojciechowski.
Sincere thank you, Glenna, for time spent here. I can't help but continue to repeat the financial critical status that the town is in. And I don't say that, it's the experts that are saying that. And I say based on that, I don't see how we're qualified to borrow more, and I speak about bonds. I think it's irresponsible for us to even think that we can borrow or should borrow, and that should get out in the news media somehow to let everyone know, and that's why I continue to come here, because I don't think everyone knows. They're going to go to the voting polls and they're just going to, oh, sounds good. And more specifically, of course, the most important one, I guess, out there is the school bond. And I speak, and if you notice in the headlines, just last week in the headlines, it was fantastic. Our academic status was headlined. We're so superior. Obviously, Superintendent Sapala is doing such a good job, what she does, that we have some high achievements in our academic area. And the same token, I just read about over 700 people coming to our athletic events. And of course, we have to thank McNeese's. I mean, it's the people who cause us to have a success academically, socially, whatever. It's the people. It's not the buildings, it's not the fields, we don't have to spend millions of dollars to have a success. We just have to continue to help those who are servicing us, who are doing the good and providing those services for us. They're the ones that we should be thanking and not spending the dollar. And at this time, we should show more responsibility in our finance. And just show more responsibility. And at this time, turn it around. We must vote not to spend money at this time, if only for a year or two, while we figure out what we're going to do financially. And that's what I'm hoping to see from everyone now is no unnecessary spending. Spending only for life-threatening issues at this point. Other than that, shut it down, if only for a year. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Beck.
Thank you for letting me speak. Over the last 8 months, I've been very concerned the way you guys have been voting on some of the issues. I'm just going to go back to when Mr. Hoxie the police chief Hoxie was running the town as town manager and police chief. You kind of, in my opinion, you kind of took his legs out right from underneath him, right here in public forum. You said he didn't live up to his deal, and I thought in public that was kind of a dirty shot towards him. I've known Dean all my life. He's grown up in town, so have I. And I thought that was kind of a dirty shot to him. He was doing 2 jobs at once. He didn't get his college degree or whatever. I have a high school diploma. I'm pretty proud of it. Dean does a great job in town. He's got a lot of common sense, and I think that's what it takes. For what you guys did to him publicly, I thought was pretty lousy. Anyways, that was one issue. Other issues is that one of the ordinances that I don't know if you guys are working on it is like when the town has fights in Eastwood Look with the college kids and whatever, we already have an ordinance in town about how the town can recoup the money. We already have an ordinance. I looked it up myself. Only thing is, you might want to revise it. The town can only collect up to $2,000. We already have these ordinances. You guys need to do your homework. Don't make more committees and do all these things. You're wasting time. It's right here. There's an ordinance. I've got it if you want to look at it. We don't need to keep blaming URI kids. We have an ordinance. Whatever, if Dean sends 10 police cars down there, send him a bill for 10 police cars and 10 officers. This is crazy. We keep wasting time. We can make money. Send these kids a bill. And, then what Mr. Wachowski was saying about we keep spending money. We just keep, again, we hired a new fire chief. Prior to hiring the fire chief, we paid almost $100,000 out in overtime. And somebody said in the council, well, it's because we have a manning table. We do have a manning table. But the council should have said, don't blame the union. That's what it's going to come down to next year. We went over budget in the fire department. We're going to blame the union because we have a manning table. The council should have asked Mr. Carter to stay on and paid him X amount of money. But no, what's going to happen next year? We're going to blame the union. That's what everybody does, blame the union. That was negotiated in the contract many, many years ago. They have a manning table. So they promoted a captain up to chief. So now they're short. They had to pay overtime. But it was almost $100,000. So that's the budget. Now we hire a new chief. One council person spoke. Glenna wasn't there, so Glenna, exclude yourself out of this. He was against it because it was against the charter. We did have a qualified candidate that was running. It was a candidate that could have made chief. He lived in town. And it was legal that they did hire the guy from Charlestown, which is fine. But one guy spoke against, he felt wrong, we're going against our charter. Our charter doesn't say the state of Rhode Island on it. It says the town of Narragansett, what our symbol says. We went against our own charter. What are we doing? It's the town of Narragansett, not the state of Narragansett. Take care of ourselves. If Lieutenant Stone wasn't qualified, I would say hire Mr. Potterton, which you did, which is fine. I have nothing against Chief Potterton at all. But make sure, if we paint, we should paint that car, it says Narragansett on it, Town of Narragansett, when he drives back and forth to Charleston, let them know what we give him to drive back and forth. Put nice big letters on it, you know? It's crazy. We just, another $6,000 extra to buy him a car. Then he asked to get a part-time EMA director at $25, $30 an hour. More money. Then last week, last council meeting, Mr. Mann, ex-Matt, had a little tussle with Doug about an extra $5,000 about the Point Judith fishing tournament. Matt, I have to disagree with you. I think I'm right, because I had this argument a couple months ago here at this forum about South County tourism, where they use money. The lady got up and I said, you use tax money to get your money. She said, no. And I said, you do. And anytime there's a tax, she uses hotel tax and restaurant tax. That's where she gets her money. And this year, she got another $900,000 given to her. South County Tourism did. That's tax now. And when Black Island Boat surcharges people, I think that's tax. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's why I interpret it.
It's not town property taxes, though.
But neither is what she's doing to buy, she wanted to buy that property. It's still tax. If you remember, the lottery was set up. It was going to help
Mr. Beck, your
schools.
time's up.
It was going to help schools and everything else. And it's not helping schools, is it?
Ms. Shabshelowitz.
I'm going to paraphrase a phrase from The Sound of Music. This isn't going to be music to your ears. At one point, one of the nuns said about Maria, I hate to have to say it, but it really must be said. And I hate to have to say it, but I think in this town, a lot of decisions are made based on relationships and how the people feel about the people that are asking for a zoning waiver or asking for a change or asking for enforcement. And if you're going to be in public service, I think it's very hard in a small town to make decisions which some of your friends or associates may not like, or some of your business people that work for you. I'm afraid what's happening in the center of Narragansett is we're going to turn into Eastwood Look 2. If they keep being allowed to subdivide properties and to have zoning waivers when houses are sold, and they get all these waivers that other people might not have gotten. But we don't want waivers with all these big houses, so they turn into another fraternity, sorority, or student housing. We want the character of Narragansett to be kept the way it is, as far as not having riots and students violating the civil rights of people that live here. And I'm saying students because you can notice a vivid change in the character of what goes on the street when the students aren't there. And sometimes it's the tourist. I recently had to put up signs on my grass. Do not walk your dog on my grass. The reason I had to do that is people were coming by, having their dog leave its feces behind, right on the front grass, where I frequently walk, and sometimes at dark, to check on my mother who lives across the street. It's not right that, and they throw their trash into the woods right next to us, which is part of our property, which at this point is filled with poison ivy. I used to go retrieve the trash, but now I won't because of the poison ivy. And I know you're running, some of you are running for other office, some of you are running for another office, but I think you have to enforce some of these ordinances and not allow zoning to keep subdividing the town and making a mockery of what used to be a nice place to live, where kids could have classmates and other schoolmates down the street. Thank you.
Thank you. Looks like we'll move on to the first agenda item, which is the consent agenda. Anyone have any items to remove? Motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll move that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to old business, number 14, a motion to authorize the staff to apply to RIDOT for an adopt-a-spot designation for the Dillon Rotary.
I'll move that motion.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Number 15, a motion to adopt a resolution imposing parking restrictions and regulations for the Scarborough Hills area in the town of Narragansett in accordance with the Code of Ordinances.
I'll move that motion.
Second.
So I just want to speak to this motion on Scarborough Hills. We had a motion in the last meeting, and then Glenna was nice enough to take a look at amending it, but I'd like to go back to the original motion, which was just Knowles Way, as far as the parking passes. Spoke to a lot of people in those side streets, Coffee and some of those other side streets don't have driveways, and it doesn't really apply to them as much as that main drag. Chief Foxy, do you have anything to say about that? I know we spoke a little bit about it.
I provided you all tonight with a copy of a map from our records management system that charts parking complaints. And if you'll look, this is from January 1st of 2012 to today. If you look to the west or to the left of Sewell Road, you'll see in a 2.5-year period there were only 4 complaints for parking in the Francis, Pontigansett, Coffee, Greenbrier, Upper Erie. Excuse me. Obviously, the main parking complaints are down lower and closer to the beach.
Thank you. Yeah, it didn't seem like it was a problem on Coffee and some of those other streets. So I just wanted to go back to the original motion. I guess we had talked about, Glenna kicking the can down the curb, but in speaking to some people, it doesn't really impact them. It's just really the main drag. So a few years ago, we did up to Sewell. So I was just thinking, since that's the main drag, and that's where I think Mr. Kennedy spoke about the curb cut being an issue, I thought we would go back to that.
I'm happy to, the data speaks for itself, so my concern was only moving up Knowles Way would give you sort of spillover in those neighborhoods. If the neighborhoods are fine and can contend with it, then I'm happy to support it.
Okay, good.
So what's the best way to make this motion? What do you recommend?
Well, you're starting over again, obviously, so whatever took place 2 weeks ago, if you did it once, it's a 2 readings type of situation, so that first reading now you're going to go back, it's not going to exist. If you don't do it twice, that one doesn't pass, so now you have to have a new resolution for what it is you want to pass, just on Knowles Way.
So we can just go back to last week's motion.
Right, you can do it today, you just need to amend whatever you have in front of you to create the new resolution for what it is you want to pass, and then we'll have to have a second reading.
Yeah, but can we just go back to the last meeting? Is that what you're pulling up? And I'll just
Right.
make that motion.
Right, I think the motion would be parking, Knowles Way, parking by permit only, May 15 through September 15 from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. on both sides, from intersection with Sewell Road to Point Judith Road, Route 108. That was the previous motion from 2 weeks ago.
Right, so I can make that motion.
We had that motion first, then we amended it, but this is the original motion. I just read.
Yes, but you're still going to have to do this twice.
Yes.
Yeah.
'Cause
Yeah,
of-
we know,
yeah,
but
that's
we-
fine, no, that's what
Yeah.
I'm saying, you can amend the motion, but you just got to get back to where you want it to be.
So he's bringing it back, I'm going to make that motion.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Sorry, I lost my... Number 16, a motion to discuss options and possible action for consideration of a town sign that will be located in a safe environment.
I'll move that motion.
Second.
I asked this to be put on the agenda just to clear up what was going on with the Rotary signs and then the town sign. I didn't really get a good look at it the first time, so I think maybe Steve can address it. Mr. Wright can address that just to give us an overview of what's going on with the signs, just as kind of an issue.
Mr. Wright has been in contact with the Lions Club, and he can address this subject.
Thank you.
Yes, good evening. Last year, I had been approached by the Lions Club to put a community bulletin board along Kingston Road at Sprague Park, which we presented and got approved. To this date, it hasn't been installed. So Greg Beck is here from the Lions Club who can speak about that. As far as the Dillon Rotary, all of those signs have been, we're no longer putting signs up or allowing signs to be put up at the Dillon Rotary until that subject is brought up and discussed in the future. But the only informational signs that we're allowing to date is at the end of Narragansett Avenue and the little cutouts up at the beach. You'll see those signs put up right in those little cutouts at the beach wall. And that's the only ones that we allow on our property to date. And so at the Sprague Park, there is nothing installed as of now. So if Greg can come up and discuss what's happening with.
What happened, basically, Mr. President, you got this letter, I'm looking at it now, April 10th. We sent you a letter from the Lions Club. I took it upon myself, probably.
Can you just speak to the microphone?
I took it upon myself a little prior to that, because I felt the town needed something that everybody could use. And what I did some homework myself. I talked to Steve. I basically kept it simple. The less people you get involved, the better it is, because if you get too many people involved, it gets too big. Everybody's got these great ideas, and it just blows up. And that's what it seems like it is today. It's blown out of proportion. It was supposed to have been done by now, but Abercorp, I talked to Keith Lascabro. He was going to build it. He was basically do his labor for nothing, and the Lions Club was going to pay for the materials, whatever was going to be needed. So what I ended up doing, I talked to Steve Wright if he was good with it, and he was. And then I did all my homework. I talked to the building inspector. I got all his, what was needed. Basically, I got it has to be 10 feet off the curb. All the requirements that the town requires to do this. It can't just be put on the edge of the road. It can't be put on a street corner, because if it's so high, you can't see at a street corner. So building inspector was good with it, where we're going to put it. So we checked with him. Like I said, I did all my homework. Steve was good with it. I went back to the Lions Club, proposed it to the board. They approved it. And then once we had all the approval, we submitted it to the council, and you guys approved it. And Keith was supposed to build it, but he got backed up in his work. So here we are today, and it's not done. And we picked out a location on Kingstown Road over by where the flashing light is, the school light. We thought it was a good location because if you're coming down, heading east, it's kind of on a bend there. As soon as you pass the Little League field, you could see it in that direction. If you're heading west, you're coming up around the corner, you can see it in that direction there. And the deal was that the Lions Club could use it for their few events a year, and then basically the town would have it for all their events. And it was just basically going to be those two communities that were going to use it, the Lions Club and the town. And that was it. The school has their own bulletin boards. The Pierce School has one, and the high school has one. So it was just basically going to be those two. Like I said, the Lions Club and the Parks Department was going to take care of it and maintain it.
So Greg, is it going to happen this year, like December?
Last time I talked to
No.
Keith, he was looking at December, January.
Yeah.
I mean, if Keith is one of your neighbors, if you want to talk to him.
I'll let Pam Nolan deal with that.
I mean, this is where, it's all been approved by everybody. It's just, when somebody's volunteering their time, and this is where it's at.
Yeah.
So that's good to know.
Yeah, just curious about the status, just because it came up with the other issue. So that's great.
So Pam will follow up. It looks like she wants
Can
to
I
say
ask a
something.
question? Is this sign going to be an electric sign? Are you going to be able to change it by computer?
At first it wasn't, if we could afford that, that would be the way to go, because
I
then
know.
But we don't know
We
what,
could.
you're talking a lot of money for that. We don't know what that would cost. Originally, I don't know if you saw any of the pictures, we want to make it something look like it's going to look like the towers. The outside frame will look like the towers, so it'd be the symbol of the towers. That's our goal.
Well, I think that we need to, we've got some time before it's going to be built, that we should consider some of these things, like whether or not it would be electric and be by computer, if we could afford it, if we should have a sign policy, who's going to be the people who decide which signs go on that. I've worked on this on the Cape, and it's very, can be very controversial. It can be very, it's busy.
Well, the thing is, the type of sign you put up, it can't be a flashing sign either if it's an electrical sign. You can't do that.
No, I just wondered if it could be from a remote location by computer. Yeah, and that would be,
I mean, if the town wants to come up with that type of money, I would say that would be something you guys would have to approve. Lions Club doesn't have that type of deep pockets.
okay, thank you.
So Pam, you'll follow up at some point with the Lions Club?
Yeah, I'll follow up with you.
Okay, yeah, that's fine, but Pam, we do have quite a bit of sign ordinances in this town.
Yes, I saw that.
Okay,
yes.
I talked with Ann, and
Right.
we've got quite a bit of sign ordinance, and just also, the sign ordinance, that you kind of hurt us a little bit with the Lions Club. You didn't enable us to put a sign up at the Rotary that we've done for 30 or 40 years. That hurts us greatly, because we generate most of our money at the Blessing of the Fleet this weekend. Not letting us put a sign up there really
Do you
does a
think,
job on
do you
us.
think the Blessing of the Fleet would be less well attended because there's no sign on the Rotary?
Well, that just, no, but it just.
That's
a
the,
way
that's
of-
the, that's the implication, though. Because
Well,
there's
it
a
lets
sign,
people know
there's a
it's-
sign at the north end at the Rite Aid, there's
Yes.
a sign at the beach where the bike stop thing is,
But-
and there's a sign down Galilee.
But it lets people know coming into the Rotary the date of that weekend. We've had it there for 30, 40 years. We have the ordinances here that the zoning board, the building inspector always lets us put there for the last 30, 40 years.
It's banned, it's not, it's against the rules, that's the way it is.
Look at the ordinances.
It's against the rules.
You have the rules that you just made up 2 weeks ago.
No, that's the rules where they are. Just because you've done it for 40 years doesn't mean it's grandfathered in.
What are these? These are nothing?
Right.
These are ordinances that are in this town. So these are nothing?
No, I'm saying, it's been against the rules for 40 years. There shouldn't be any signs in the Rotary. That's a safety issue. And it's state land. Mr. Mengenish.
I say it was about 40 years ago. It was with Ralph Copper when he made the great theft, I guess, if you will, of the Narragansett Brewery sign. And after 40 years, quite frankly, I'm tired of having that the first thing people see when they enter Narragansett. Plus, you could probably go on eBay and sell it to the people who have reestablished Narragansett. But really, if this is about that sign, it is really time that go and something be done at a little higher level than a Narragansett Brewery sign.
A lot of activity on this side.
Ms. Shevchelowitz. Oh, God.
I know Mr. Mannix ran on the basis of transparency, and I'd like to see, like a lot of the meetings, I know it costs more money, but I'd like to see them advertised in the South County Independent and the Narragansett Times, because a lot of people don't go on the computer and look to see what the agenda is. This is just as far as communication. Also, could there be a sign posted, could there be a bulletin board posted at the library? Because a lot of people come in and out of there where we could put things like the Lions Club announcement, the Blessing of the Fleet, any kind of announcements. Could we put another bulletin board there? Like I'm thinking at the side of the ramp where people come up, another bulletin board. It wouldn't be sticking out in the road and it wouldn't be distracting. And I know there was a lot of controversy over the lit sign over at Wakefield Pharmacy when that went up over in Wakefield. There was a lot of controversy about the distraction of it blinking or different color lights or how many times they could change it. And, you know, I am concerned about safety and distraction, but it's also a good idea to be able to communicate things like, I don't know whether, because it's a U.S. post office, whether a sign could be put on the side of the parking lot for the post office, like by the Pavilion Park there. If there could be some sort of sign just where they put public notices. I mean, the more notices you get out, and if it's not going to cost us anything once the bulletin board is put up, I guess it has to be glass enclosed or something. But I think that would just enhance communication at a relatively cheaper price. And I just think that's important. I called Pam Nolan regarding the lack of signage in front of the post office, because a week ago Saturday, there's just one sign that's stuck in the grass, which people can't see, about 12-minute parking. And a week ago Saturday, we had a beautiful day, and there were people parked there that were going to the beach, and there was no sign that they saw. There has to be a better signage in front of the post office. And I was going to suggest there also be a handicapped accessible parking place, because people that come in to mail packages should be able to find a place by the post office where they can park to mail a package. And the one that's in the grass there, you can't even see. And the post lady told me she had to keep
Ms.
coming
Shevchelowitz,
out.
your time's up.
Yeah, well, you're very good to cut me off at 3 minutes exactly, Mr. Callahan, aren't you? Whereas other people get to
Mr.
speak out.
Wojciechowski.
I wasn't going to get up to speak, but, you know, I think signs, they distract. They're actually a negative in Narragansett. Narragansett has some beauty, historical feature, let's say, and yeah, we're going to put a sign at the post office, put signs on a road. We're going to start looking like Ball Hill Road and Warwick, places I come from that are not very nice. We don't want any signs. We don't want any signs. Yes, you know, on the rotary specifically, you go around the rotary, I can't help but look at the signs, and you can almost hit the guy in front of you because he stops and he's not supposed to. You know, somebody's letting somebody else go. So it's a good idea. And no sign at the rotary. Sorry about that. You know, I mean, I don't want to see sign anywhere. Maybe the library already has their bulletin board. If the library wants to add a few things at their bulletin board, there's a stop sign there. Maybe that's not a bad spot. But other than that, no more signs. It's bad enough we get enough signs about the runs and everything else. We don't want any signs here to destroy the historical value of Narragansett. This is not a city. This is a nice historic place, and signs take away from that. No more signs.
Thank you. There's no action to take on that motion, so move on to number 17. A motion to appoint individuals to the 2 vacant alternate seats on the Zoning Board of Review for a 1-year term, which expires on July 1st, 2015.
I'd like to,
I'd like to nominate
Joey Paglia.
I'll second that. And I'd like,
Discussion?
Any discussion?
So Joe is an owner of a restaurant in town, and we had interviews shortly before this, 4 people interviewing for these spots. So, he has some experience in front of the zoning board. He's had to appear before them, so he probably has, from a small business owner's perspective, he's had to sometimes navigate those waters. So, has some experience and been a long time in town. I think he said since 1974. So,
We had 4 terrific candidates from what we could tell, so Mr. Paglia is certainly one of them.
I'd like to nominate Mr. John Kennedy.
I'll second it.
wait, should we vote on Joe first?
How do we want to do it?
I think you probably should go one at a time.
One at a time.
So vote on Joe first.
The person, first motion was for Mr. Paglia. That's had a second. Motion and a second. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. The next person up, I believe, is Ms. Bonanno. Did you have some?
I said Mr. Kennedy. Mr. Kennedy.
And was there a second?
I second it.
Obviously, he's one of the 4 candidates. They're all good candidates. I mean, they all want to dedicate their time to the town, which is a credit to them. It's somewhat thankless at some time, but I think you do a good job. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
No. And I just wanted to nominate Colin Hines. And again, Colin's somebody who came forward. He was on the Conservation Commission when we had 2 vacancies. He's somebody who has planning experience, a landscape architect, would be a breath of fresh air. Again, just want to nominate him for the position.
I thought Colin was great, by the way, slant more towards planning. So Colin, if you're listening, would encourage you to go for the next planning board opening.
And I think all the candidates were good, so
Absolutely.
I'm glad to have you as one of them. But I did want to nominate him since I had asked him to come forward when we had those 2 vacancies. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Matt.
So the next item is the motion number 18 to approve the purchase of 1 new 2015 Ford Interceptor sedan police cruiser and 2 new 2015 Ford Interceptor utility police vehicles from MHQ Municipal Vehicles in the amount not to exceed $96,500.
I'll move that motion.
Second.
He's jumping on his seat.
Does anybody want any background on this before we get into any discussion?
It looks like Dean was going to give some.
Dean, do you want to give us background?
I have to beat Stanley to it. They all have at least 1 million miles. As you see, this is part of our yearly plan as we came to you for the capital improvement projects. Last year, we bought 2 of these utility vehicles, which most of the departments are starting to change to. Unfortunately, we had a great winter to try them out with all the snow and inclement weather we had, and they were a tremendous asset. The 3 vehicles that we're getting rid of that we will put on gov deals, as you know, we don't trade them in anymore. We put them on gov deals. We get a lot more money for them rather than our $500 trade-in allowance. Car 17 was the original SUV that was purchased under Chief Smith and has 98,000 miles on it, and fleet maintenance is begging us to get rid of that vehicle. It's literally falling apart. A lot of salt issues, a lot of wear and tear issues, and the engine is just about ready to let go. Cars 5 and 14 both have over 110,000 miles, and probably more than what was even on this memo because they're still in service as detail cars, which make us money, Stanley. So our hope, trying to keep the fleet up, running, less cost to the town for maintenance, and also serve the needs of our community, and essentially with the weather we're having, I feel it's important we add 2 more utilities and 1 sedan.
And this is all budgeted or part of the budget?
This is budgeted, approved in the capital project, one of the few things to make it through the capital process.
Thank you, Chief. Mr. Wojciechowski.
I'm just trying to plan for the future. You know, and just because it's budgeted doesn't mean we have to do it. I don't want to do it because it's budgeted. You know, of course it's needed, and I understand it, and probably these are needed. What I'm hoping to do is maybe we can change our maintenance schedule, our maintenance situation, so we can get $300,000 or $400,000 out of these vehicles. Because, well, let me just tell you a short story. I had a '72 Pinto, which had 143,000 miles on it, okay? And I went to the drag strip, and somebody goaded me on, so I went and dragged the spectator drags. 60 spectators get to race, and of course, me and my Pinto, I was number 2 out of 60. So that's how fast that car was. So I stopped changing oil in that car for the next 60,000 miles. That car ran for 200,000 miles. The last 60 of them, I never changed the oil. Now, I did change a filter. I never changed the oil, and I use drain oil and put a quart every week. So if a Pinto, a '72 Pinto, can go 200,000 miles with bad maintenance, I just hope that we change our view, and I want us to strive for the 200,000 or 300,000. I'd like a $500,000, but let's double the mileage, and let's do the maintenance that we have to do to get there. And that's, I just want to change that, you know. And I don't know about these specific vehicles, but 100,000 doesn't work anymore. Now it's 200,000, and all the maintenance should be planned for 200,000. So, and I want you to change your capital plan such that we don't just buy a vehicle because it's got 100,000. I want to shoot for the 200,000. So I just want to change your mindset. But I'm sure the chief is doing the right thing here. I'm sure. I'm just talking in the future for a change in our maintenance plan and our thinking. Thank you.
Stan, those 100,000 miles, that doesn't count the idle time
Yeah.
that they're running, you know. Sometimes they don't shut them off for probably 2 or 3 shifts. So
That's
the
true.
wear and
There's more
tear on
time
police
on the engine.
vehicles is well over the 100,000 mile.
Yeah,
thing.
but there's no stress on the transmission, brakes.
And they don't make Pintos anymore, so we can't
I
find
know,
any Pintos.
you know, if you make a Pinto, I mean, you know, now I didn't buy the
Those
Pinto.
high-speed chases
I
are
was,
tough with
I was given that Pinto, by the way. I would never buy a Pinto. I never thought of getting a Pinto. My father-in-law, he didn't like the Pinto, so I took it off his hands. And
So you got it for free, too?
I got it free. I got the car free, you know, and it was unreal the deal. So if you know of a Pinto, and it did go fast. Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Number 19, a motion to award the bid for general construction services to the lowest bidder, Abcor Restoration Company, Inc., at their quoted bid price for a 1-year period.
I'll move that motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Mr. Wojciechowski.
I hate to prolong the meeting, and I'm sorry I'm getting up so many times. However, I happen to read the documents, and I read over $50 an hour for a painter, carpenter, roofer, $50 an hour. Oh, yes, this is the standard state thing. I don't know what it is, the standard, we have to do it. It says it in there. Well, we got to change this. We've got to challenge this. We got to stop using the state guidelines, because it's $50 an hour. This is crazy. You know,
It's cheap compared to other bids.
Well, all I know is I had a painter that I had to evict because he couldn't come up with $550 a month. In today's world, you know, they're looking at $25 an hour for a painter. Okay. Now, granted, there may be specific instances where it's more, but you know that took me right there between a painter making $50, $2,000 a week. What are you talking? $100,000 a year? $100,000 a year? I mean, that rivals the manager's pay. $100,000 a year. Is that what we're doing? We've got to stop this. We don't want it. We want to go contract. We got to do contract. We got to change the system so we're not paying $50 an hour for some of the the low cost items. Let's say we must be competitive. Let's put it that way. In today's world, in Narragansett, right now, painters don't make $50 an hour. It doesn't happen. I know you can get it half price, if not more, right now. I had a fellow begging me for $12 an hour. He wasn't that good, so I had to go. All right, okay, I understand that. Okay, I understand that. But $50 an hour is way out of the ballpark. We've got to change the system. Refuse to do this. Refuse to go with the state system, the state idea. What do they call this now? Where do they get this $50
It's
an hour?
not the state, it's ours. And we received several bids. I've looked at them all. These prices were by far the lowest. The lowest of any. It was a bid. It was awarded according to state law. This is our bid, the town of Narragansett's. And I was really taken aback when I read the prices, because this contractor was by far the lowest, Stan, by far. And I think Mr. Sezerman would back me up. He was there for the opening also, but we really did put this out to bid, and this was good.
I'm hoping we get it. I don't know how to, thank you. I just was hoping that we could find some other contractors that would have these lower bids I mean, did we have it, how did we advertise? I didn't see the paper, I don't know. We haven't attracted the lower bidders or the most economical. Did we, well, we had 3 bids, which was really good. I like that, we had 3
I
bids.
think we had more than that.
Yeah.
We're the town, Stan, we're
Yeah.
the town. We're perceived differently.
I know, and that's what we gotta stop. Somehow, we gotta find the bidders that gives us a better deal. I don't know how to find them, I'm not that good. We're gonna give Jeff that, he's pretty good. Let's give him the idea of, let's say I wanna find 6 bidders, so now maybe I can get the $25 an hour man instead of the 50.
Stanley, just so that you know, that we would be, we are required to ensure we hire a contractor who pays prevailing wage. So what you see there, it looks
Is the
like there's
prevailing wage.
adjustments to the state's prevailing wage. So I don't think we can even get any lower than that from a bid.
I don't want the prevailing wage, it's no good.
We
That's
can't
my whole
hire,
argument.
we can't hire a contractor then.
We must go by contract.
No, it's
Can't we just
federal.
go as a contract and not the person?
It's federal law. It's federal law. It's in every state in the country, we have to honor prevailing wage.
There's something wrong.
Federal law.
There's something wrong with it, and at this point, there's something wrong with $50, $2,000 a week for there's something wrong. And I understand that prevailing wage, and I thought that was a state issue, not a federal issue.
I know
That's
it.
prevailing
I know
wage.
I know these rates to be applicable to this state, but I would trust our town manager, who's done this a couple days now, to know the rules, and perhaps the rates vary by state, but
I just was hoping we could do some contract work without the prevailing wage. How do we structure our bids, or how do we structure our work so we don't have to hire a prevailing wage system? I want to vary from that. I want some thinking here. How do we get work done without being chained to this prevailing wage?
not sure. If you can figure it out, though, we're open to suggestions.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Number 20, a motion to adopt the resolution amending the official list of designated stop intersections in the official stop sign map in accordance with the Narragansett Code of Ordinances.
I'll move that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. And a motion to schedule work sessions. The suggested dates are Tuesday, August 12th, and Monday, August 25th, and a third date if necessary, to review and comment on the draft of the comprehensive plan with the consultants, I believe they're Horsley Witten. Anyone have problems with those dates?
I may, but don't hold up on my account.
I was hoping we could not do the Tuesday one and just do the Monday ones. It says if necessary, so then,
We just shoot for the 25th?
can we just do is that all right with everyone? Glenna, which one can't you make?
Likely the 25th, but again, don't worry about me, because you guys will have
Are we gonna
a
have enough,
quorum without me.
are we gonna have enough time?
We can always schedule a third one if we need 3.
Okay.
The
So-
11th is VJ Day,
Yes.
Victory Day in
Right.
Rhode Island. So that's probably, do we have a meeting that night, Ann?
No.
On the 12th, no.
So, schedule the 25th and then go from there if necessary for a further one?
We'll schedule the 8th. Can we schedule the 8th too?
The 8th?
Yeah. If everyone's okay with that.
August 8th,
No, September 8th.
September 8th.
August 25th and
Because it's 2
September 8th.
Mondays.
Hmm.
That's a,
And
yeah.
they're
And I have a
both before the
conflict the
meeting.
other night.
There's no primary, right?
What's wrong? Is that the night before the primary?
But-
Oh, for Ann.
Oh.
That's true. Mike, do you have any other dates?
I didn't look any further forward than September 8th, hoping to get, keep this ball rolling so that we could move it to the point of having the planning board hearing sometime in September, and then returning it to the council in early October for a full public hearing. But I neglected to check with Mrs. Irons on the primary date, so that's my fault. I'll go with whatever dates you'd like to go with. Mondays seem to work pretty well for the planning board.
Well, we have a meeting before the 8th in September, correct? Probably that September 1st unless it's Labor Day?
That's Labor Day.
Yeah, it's Labor Day.
So that
It's
Tuesday
probably
meeting?
Tuesday.
So could we schedule a meeting for, is that enough time? You need to have notice? If
It would be sufficient advance notice for us, but the planning board would like to have more than just the hour or so that you typically do before your regular meeting.
No, I mean, if we need the meeting on the 8th, September 8th, we can schedule that meeting on September 2nd or 1st, whatever that is. That make sense?
Yeah, these are workshops, so
Yeah.
we're pretty loose on notification, whatever the state law requires.
So we could schedule the 25th now, see how it goes that
Just
night.
schedule
and
one,
then
and then you'll come up with more dates for us.
We can look into
Yeah.
others.
Schedule the 25th right now and then see
Yeah.
how it goes that night. If we can schedule
Perfect.
another one on September 2nd, whatever day that is, for the 8th, you know what I mean? I'm sorry.
Perfect.
So the amended motion is the planning board work session for August 25th, and further dates if necessary. At this
What time is that?
We'd like to start at 6 if possible. 6:30 would work too. We're open. We're anticipating a 2-hour window in each night.
6?
I could make it at 6:30.
6:30.
All right,
Yeah,
6:30.
I should have known that.
All right.
6:30.
So that's the amended motion. We have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Number 22, a motion to adopt a resolution establishing an administrative compensation schedule for fiscal year 2014-2015.
I'll move that motion.
Second?
Any discussion?
Do you want me to address it?
Yeah, I was thinking maybe you could
Okay,
start, Pam.
this is the senior management team, and it is also the senior citizens coordinator, who are non-union. This is non-union. The range is from 1% to 3%, depending on evaluation. I did do evaluations for the first time in a long time, if they've ever been done, I'm not sure, of the senior management team, and based on that, it's 1 to 3%. If the first column is your current range, the second is proposed range, what the red means is that that person in that position has reached the end of their steps, so to speak, the end of their range. They've been here so long. So the ones that are in red had their 1 or their 2 or their 3 put on the first column, the end of the current range. So if there was an assistant town engineer who made $64,770, he would now make $65,317. The assistant town engineer does not work here, and we do not have anybody in that position. Deputy police chief does not have anybody in that position. Executive assistant at the police department does, and that's a 2% for her. The ones in black have not reached the end of their range yet. So they fall within that range, and they will get their raise either 1%, 2%, or 3% within the range already established. The reason that we keep these positions on here that they're not filled is we want to keep them listed as town non-union positions. To vacate, the position, the title may enable the union to grab those titles into their union if we ever wanted to fill them. So we keep them on here from year to year so that we maintain control over the titles and that they remain non-union. I know it's a little confusing. The red means that they've worked here a while and they've reached the end of their range, which was in the first column. So their 1 or their 2 or their 3 was added. In the right-hand column, in the red, obviously there's no assistant town engineer, no deputy police chief, no executive assistant town manager. Oh, that's my assistant, I'm sorry. And that is 2%, I'm sorry. That's 2%. Finance director is in black. She has just been hired, and she has not reached the end of her range. So her pay will fall within, she's one of the people that got a higher level, and that's in red because it had to be added on to her 94. Are there any I know that Matt
So
told me.
Pam, so the finance director, sorry, is not at the end, so that 97 is not accurate in red then?
No, it is accurate in red. It meant that we hired her at the end of her range. When she came in, we hired her at the very most that we could pay her.
Oh.
So this means that this is a new end of the range. It's red. And like I said, we keep the titles, even though we haven't filled them, maybe in a long time, because we want them to remain non-union.
It looks like two things are going on. One is they're giving raises to department heads, which are 1%, 2%, or 3% that were commensurate with the reviews that Pam had done for them. So that's the first part of it.
Right.
And that's just the department heads. And then we're also in here, and almost could be better if this had been two separate motions, I think, because then the other thing is we're putting these ranges in so that we can be more competitive if we're going to hire in some of these positions to be attractive to people who might come into these positions, but right now some of which are vacant. So you have kind of two things going on this chart. So and that's why initially I was confused about it, but I think I'm okay with it. But if people need more time, then that's fine.
This is everybody that's non-union. Now that they're all SMTs, senior management team, except my executive assistant, Chief Hoxie's executive assistant, and the Senior Citizen Center director. Those are the only people in town. This group here are the only people in town that are not unionized, other than our part-time people or our temporary people or our summer help. They would not, of course, be in a union, but how many are here? And they're not all filled, so 12, 13, 14, 15 tops.
I'm okay with this. Based on about, I'm okay with it as well. I mean, the range existed already, and now I understand the end game of the range, the red, so I'm good.
And this is sort of a step in the right direction, I think, from the manager's perspective, because the evaluations hadn't been done in so long,
Right.
or however it was done. This is almost codifying a way to do it and give us a reason, or you a reason at least, to recommend raises in different respects for different people.
I also want to add to this that we did it just to senior management team. I mean, I came last October, but we are going to train our senior management team to evaluate their top people. And then we're going to take our middle management people and we're training them so that there can be evaluations all the way through every year. And we're able to do it in 3 of our unions right now, and 1 union, hopefully we'll be able to do that when we sign the contract. So I'm very happy about it. It's not something, though, that we can do without some training. So Susan Healy, the Human Resource Director, and I are looking right now for training vehicles so that we can make sure that our people know how to do this legally, efficiently, and effectively.
Stanley had his hand up.
Mr. Wojciechowski.
Based on the evaluation, I think it's good.
You did a good job. I think that was. However, the empty positions, I'd like these to qualify for a hiring freeze. In other words, I don't like these empty positions still on the books, if you will, because there's a tendency now to want to fill these things. And right now, I feel the staff we have is doing a fantastic job, just as it is. And that's why I'm not even going to argue about the increases, okay? I'm not going to really argue about that. You expect me to do that this time, right? I'm not even going to argue about that because, I want to keep these people. They've done a fantastic job from my perspective. However, I don't want them to go out and start hiring more people. I don't want these assistants to come on board.
I can't do that.
Okay.
We have a budget, and it has X number of positions, and every position is budgeted. If it's not budgeted, we can't add it.
Can't add. So all these empty names now,
They're
assistants,
not
are
budgeted.
not going to be added,
They
right?
are not budgeted. It would take a meeting up here, and it would be at budget time that you might see them added. I don't know.
Yeah,
I have no plans to do that.
okay.
You know, it depends on who sits here and who sits up there.
I know, that's why I'm trying to head it off at the...
We can't fill 'em.
Head it off before it even comes out there. We got these positions we didn't fill, oh, now we can fill them.
No.
You know, we're all looking at, let's fill them up so we can do, no, we don't need to do a better job. It's like-
We'd have to come before the council, and it would have to be at budget time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Number 23, a motion to approve the emergency repairs to the fire department's engine 4 to be completed by Pascal Service Corporation in the amount of $6,064.64.
I'll move that motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Looks like that's it for tonight. Somebody can make a motion to adjourn?
I'll move that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Have a good night, everyone.